Mayor Terry Nolan from Dewey Humboldt. Terry is another one of the people that are doing a great job in our community, so we really appreciate that. We're so glad to have our Congressman, Paul Gosar, here. We're in a kind of an awkward situation in this country where we have a president who likes to control energy, he likes to control education, he likes to control health care, does not like to control budget. And thankfully, we have a congressman that's trying to work on that and get things in good order. Paul, good to see you. Good to see you.
Well, first of all, what I'd like to do is Jimmy, John, and Sally. Where's Sally?
No, here you go.
Oh, let's get our business workers. I'd like to give a round of applause to Sally, John, and Jimmy.
And my daughter-in-law, Lupe.
And Lupe. This is how I learned politics, was over a cup of coffee, having something to eat, and smiling. So I've seen more smiles today than I saw in the whole week in Washington, D.C. We got some grumpy people back there. You know what? We want to keep them grumpy because we need some change. This is what this is all about, is Small Business Friday. We're trying to make sure that we highlight the entrepreneur and the engine that builds this country. Small businesses like Sally, John, and Jimmy, and Lupe that build this country. And what's happening is, in Washington, D.C., we don't know that. We are putting out rules and regulations that are stifling. You know, the debt on this country, as the mayor said, is stifling. Each one of you owe about $56,000, and it's growing. There's got to be an accountability, but there's also got to be a way of setting small businesses free. That's a key. That's a key to getting this country back. So with that, what I'm here to do is, I'll take your questions, you know, because that's what this is all about, is being a sounding board, making sure that we come together on behalf of a small business, highlighting what Friday should be about, is a celebration of small businesses. Take your questions. So if you've got some questions, I'd love to take them. Yes?
The FAA opened a new branch of government for light sport and put 3,500 flight instructors out of business. I'm one of them. I see that as a good example, as sort of a microcosm of what's going on in America.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, FAA 610 light sport. Last time they were sequestered, they got a 3-week paid vacation. Their base salary is $120,000 a year. Does anybody want to know about their benefits? There's a dozen or so clowns in this office, FAA 610. They put 3,500 flight instructors out of business. That's all I got to say.
Well, I think it behooves you to understand that, you know, in our Constitution, power of the purse is with Congress. The problem is it's a joke now. Because what happens is we threaten to shut down the government. That's the problem. You can't hold bureaucrats
Not a bad
accountable.
idea.
Yeah, but what we need to do is, to be honest with you, I was one of those people that voted to shut down the government. Okay?
Hallelujah.
Actually, we didn't want to shut it down, we voted to
Shut them down and start with FAA 610,
Yeah,
please.
so from that standpoint, what we need to do is we need to have a moment in which we have accountability for bureaucrats. That's key. But what we are right now is a country of 50-50. We have 50% of the population that believes in the nanny state big government. We have 50% of the people that want entrepreneurial, small business, and small government. What you got to do is you got to come out and vote. So here's what I'm going to tell you. People say that you want term limits. You may agree or disagree. You know what your voice has done already. In the last 2 terms, the last 4 years, 60% changeover in Congress. You need to hold people accountable. I say it to you all the time. Have me come out, talk to me, look at my votes, ask me why I voted. I'd love to support how I voted. I am not afraid of that. So from that standpoint, you've got an election coming up here. Make sure you're picking wise candidates that are going to work on your behalf and listen to you. It's about time legislation is from the bottom up, not the top down. Because Washington, D.C. does not have a corner on the good idea.
Hallelujah. I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, thank you. Thank you for question. Thanks for coming out. Who's got another question? I kiss and tell.
tell us about your relationship with the Speaker of the House and your concerns about his role in how legislation is or is not being brought forward in the House.
Gotcha. The question was, what's my relationship with the Speaker? Not good right now. I supported the Speaker at the very beginning because here's what he told me. He said what he was going to do is let the people's house, the House, do its work, and then he would stand on the product. So allowing full amendment process to open dialogue, having a full discussion about the issues. I can give up on some of that aspects if I hear and I can debate it. I think all of you could do. That's part of debate. But then the Speaker got into a bad habit, going behind closed doors and trying to make special deals with Harry Reid. And to be honest with you, and I've told the Speaker this point blank, the President, Harry Reid, see the Speaker coming and they're like, yeah, we're going to get our way. And I told him point blank, he sucks at it. He would not be able to negotiate any one of my contracts when I was a dentist. He couldn't. And he's just not good at it. Number two is, I wasn't going to vote for him as Speaker this year. The problem is, we had the votes to take out the Speaker, because we had nobody else that wanted the job. Now, I will tell you, that's going to change. This will be a heated confrontation at the end of the year. I can tell you already, Cantor is in the field looking at trying to run against him. To be honest with you, Eric's time may have come and gone. There'll be another slate that comes from the sophomore class, in which I'm one of those people. I'm not on the slate. I'm not saying that. Okay? But there'll be a slate from those that have got problems. Now here's what you're dealing with. Have you heard about the SGR? Are you familiar with it? It's called the Sustainable Growth Rate. It's to compensate physicians for procedures that they actually have to pay the patient to come into the office for. Right now, to settle it for 10 years is about $180 billion. We keep kicking the can down the road. Well, I'm a doc, and I worked with the Doctors Caucus to come up with an idea. Michael Burgess, a physician out of Texas, actually worked through Energy and Commerce to get bipartisan support for a fix. And he did. Bipartisan and unanimous. No pay-fors, but had the policy. We sit down, Ways and Means, a very powerful committee comes in and says, we don't like your idea, we got a better idea. Didn't want to listen, tried to trump us. So what happens when the Republicans had their spring dinner? John Boehner meets with Harry Reid and they cut a deal. They cut a deal behind Ways and Means back. Ways and Means, they tell them this is what's going to be done. Dave Camp, who's the Ways and Means chairman, went crazy. But you know what? He did the same thing to us. And then what John Boehner did is he handed it to Eric Cantor and said, fix it. Make it go. And then we get these deals that the Doctors Caucus is huddled into a room trying to be explained while they're choreographing the floor. And what they do is they open the floor, nobody's there to dissent, they pass the measure without having a single vote or debate. That's wrong. Just like what happened this last Wednesday night. They wanted to repatriate certain individuals overseas for exemptions to Obamacare and insurance. Well, folks, I'm tired of crony capitalism giving special exemptions to special insurance companies and their wards when the rest of us take the brunt of it. That's not going to happen. And you know what? So we orchestrated it. They tried to not have any debate on it. They tried to pass it on the consent calendar, which means they had to have 2/3, and they lost. Once again, the Chamber of Commerce was pushing that bill. They got to have a conversation with America and have the debate. Something's wrong here. You're going to see a very stagnant, a very polarized House here shortly, if you haven't already seen it. We're tired of this. We're tired of having the conversation, which needs to come, but in an orchestrated fashion. To give you another example, just to warn you, John McCain called us and said, listen, immigration's going to move. Really? The Senate bill is an unconstitutional bill. I want immigration reform, but I don't want to be forced to negotiate with an unconstitutional bill. The Senate bill is that. We've never received it in the House. I thought we were supposed to uphold the Constitution. It generates revenues and taxes, and that didn't start in the House. So the reason we've never seen it is if it comes to the House, it goes blue slip, means it goes in the black paper basket that Harry Reid's been using on our stuff. Okay? So we have this NDAA, and I've not been a big proponent of the NDAA because of the spying and the indefinite detention of a citizen. There is no clear definition within that NDAA in regards to it. So here's the amendment. The amendment was going to be offered. that an illegal individual in this country could volunteer for the United States military, no matter how you feel, it's just going to be added as an amendment, and they can get their citizenship. Once it went over to the Senate, it's now germane, it has immigration on it, there are revenues in here. So now they can take the Senate bill and paste it, and we have to consider an immigration bill without having the conversation appropriately. Sticking a 2,000-page bill that is a piece of crap. It has no border security, it has no border enforcement, it is worthless. It is absolutely worthless. So that's the kind of crap we're having to deal with. So now you got sophomore class members of my class posted on the House floor so that we can object to anything. I had it out yesterday with Cantor and with McCarthy in regards to legislation coming forward. This has got to stop. This has got to stop. What can they do to me? They can't do anything to me without you. I answer to you. I don't answer to them. And so from what I've looked at polling, what you want is you want a fair shake, you want to have a fair viewpoint, and you want to get back to the rule of law.